Hopefully you had time to put the pin in. If you didn't, I've also have it up here on the board. Okay, so we're in week 2. We're going to cover tonight tutorial 1, discussion. Just have words started as we're discussing tutorial 1. After we go over that, we'll go into the in-class exercise. Starting with this week, I told you last week we'd have an in-class exercise you'll do. You will turn in that in-class exercise before you leave. It's not real long, none of them are, but it just kind of reinforces what we went over. And just a note on the in-class exercises. This week, next week, all the way through week 5. If it ever does tell you to print, don't print unless I tell you to. Unless, so if it does say print something, don't do it. And then before we leave, we'll go over the take home. So let's go ahead and start with the discussion on creating a document. One of the first things you do before you create a Word document is plan it. So before you begin typing or editing anything within Word, you want to begin planning it. Just like when you begin building a house or any project. An example, a crude example, say you are hungry and you go to the grocery store without a list. Anybody ever done that before? You come back with a whole bunch of junk, but not one meal. Okay? Same deal with a document. If you don't plan without your list of what this document's going to do, you'll spend literally weeks on a document and it make absolutely no sense. Okay? And in English professor terms, which I'm not, we all learn this in English class from our English professors, is, outline. An outline of what you want that document to do from beginning to end. So that's the very first thing. You say, how do you do it? Well, you think of the audience you're speaking to, what topics you want to cover, and then put them in order from beginning to end. An opening statement, the content you want to touch, 1, 2, 3, closing statement, finished. Okay? So you would do that on a piece of paper maybe and write it out. You wouldn't technically have to type this out. You could write it out. You could speak into a audio device and record it, however you want to do it. Then you go into the next one we're going to talk about, which is identifying the components of the Word window. We'll look at setting up the Word window, creating a brand new document. Scrolling around, correcting errors, undoing and redoing changes, entering date with autocomplete, changing the document's line and paragraph spacing, saving, previewing, printing, and then creating an envelope. That's what this tutorial goes over. So 4 steps in creating a document, whether it be 2007 or 2010, is planning, creating and editing, formatting, and then printing or distributing that document via maybe email, possibly. An example here of a letter. It's going to have the information for the company up on the upper left, possibly, the date. And the way you can enter date within Word is you can actually enter it in, just type it in, today's date, in Word, or you can do what's an auto-update date, meaning anytime you open up that letter, say a week from now, it's going to be that day's date that'll show up, not when you created it. And so that's one of the options you'll learn when you create a date. You can do an auto-update date. So you got the date, then you've got the inside address, the salutation, the entire letter aligned to the left margin. This will be the body of the letter. The closing, space to sign possibly, and the signature line. And that's just an example of a template for a professional document. So when you're looking at the Word document, you've got to Starting with 2007 is what this one's showing. The 2010 no longer has the upper left button. In fact, if you look at Word right now, I'll go to it. It has the file menu now instead of the button available, but it does the same function. Next, you've got the quick access toolbars to the right of that, or toolbar. It's going to be actually above the file menu now up here. In 07, it was to the right of the button. If you click on the drop down, which you'll actually do in your in-class exercise and go over some of these, it has different options that you can check. If they're checked, that means they're selected in the quick toolbar. You'll notice on mine I've got save selected, undo, redo, but you could also do such things as maybe email, quick print, and if I check these, it actually now has that available within the quick toolbar. So it's just a quick access toolbar to do something quickly. Next, you've got, as far as navigation goes, to the right of that, all the multiple tabs that we've already went over. You've got your ribbon, which each tab has separate components on the ribbon, and they're structured accordingly. So they should be within the family of that tab name. So Insert tab has everything to do with insert objects. Page Layout tab has everything to do with the page layout objects and manipulation. Reference tab has everything to do with referencing, dictionary, thesaurus, things of that nature. Mailings, I think the last in-class exercise we do in your last assignment has to do with the mail merge. This is where that's done. Reviewing, if you're working in a group of people, with a group of people, you can use this to accept and reject changes. Say you create the document and give it to your team to work on, you can then reject or accept folks' changes and modifications of a document. The View menu, or the View tab, has all the view objects. Most of the view objects are also available down here on the bottom right. So zooming out, zooming in, things of that nature can all be accessed here quickly, but also in a whole view menu itself or view tab. Next, you've got rulers available. Your Word document may or may not have rulers turned on right now. To see the rulers, all you have to do is click on the view menu or the view tab and click on rulers, and your ruler should then show up both vertical and horizontal. And that's helpful when we get to the section of margins and tabs and things of that nature. Paragraph mark and insertion mark. By default, the paragraph mark is not going to be viewed, but you can go up here to the home or to the home tab in the paragraph area and click on this paragraph marker. And what it does is just shows you everywhere you basically hit the enter key on your page to show a new paragraph. So you can tell for sure if a paragraph has been started or not. So you maybe, something like the first paragraph, period, hit enter. Now one of the things that also shows you, and you can type what I'm typing on mine if you want to, just to play around with it. Second paragraph. Now watch when I bring this up a little closer where we can see it better. Okay, you notice not only the paragraph symbols are there, but the periods, the dots in between, that shows space. Now these are non-printable characters, but it just is while you're editing a document, you can tell how many spaces, possibly how many paragraphs are in between lines, things of that nature. Okay? So the little dots show spaces. This here is a paragraph character. Now the one I just did, you see this little line here, this is actually forcing to a new line. What you do is you can take your cursor and put it where mine is here on your very first line. Press and hold the left shift key on your keyboard, then hit the enter key. And you'll notice how it forces it to wrap to one line. And so that's what that is for, a shift enter.
Professor?
Yes?
When would one ever want to use that?
Whenever you want to force a single space. By default, Word is going to give you double spaced on a paragraph.
Okay.
So shift enter would force it to a single space. So say you're typing a paper, right? And most papers require you to have double space by default, unless it's a quote. If it's a quote, on the first line of the quote, before you go to the second line, hit shift enter. It'll force a single line versus a double line.
Just for that next line?
Just for that next line, correct. Because, like on this line here, on here right now, if I hit enter again, it's going to, give me the two spaces instead of the one. The two line spaces instead of one line space. Next, the view button we've already went over. So this is basically the main layout that you'll need to know to get started with Word, 07 or 10, either one. Some of the definitions or elements. Office button, we know about that one. Ribbon, you know about that one. This is where you access all the different performance or commands. Tabs is the names on the ribbon, just a grouping of different functions. Quick access toolbar, those items you use frequently. Rulers, showing you where your margins are. Tab stops, row heights of tables, columns, widths. Insertion point shows where each time a character will appear when you start typing. Then paragraph mark, we've looked at, and then view buttons, which we've looked at as well, just how things are displayed on your document. So I won't go over this one. Well, we'll go over this one. When you're creating a brand new document in Word, one of the things you want to make sure and verify is if you're wanting a blank document, you have to verify you're selecting a blank document, because they have templates you can choose, pre-designed templates, downloaded templates. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Click on the File menu, and let's go to New. A lot of stuff to choose from here. Now yours might look a little different than mine possibly, but we all should have an area called Blank Document on the upper left. Now I might have maybe more templates available possibly, but there's a lot of different templates that you can choose, from Word certificates, envelopes, expense reports, a lot of downloadable ones that are totally free that you can use and definitely worth your while sometimes to use. But for the purpose of this class, we're going to be, for the most part, creating from a blank document. And most of the stuff you'll be creating at work or at school will be also from a blank document. So you just want to make sure that blank document is selected. Just left click on it with your mouse. Then over here, click on the Create button. And you'll notice once you do that, since you've already created one document earlier, it should say Document 2 on this one. The first one's going to be Document 1, second one Document 2, so on and so forth in the incremental. Now, to save this, which I always recommend students to do, on a brand new document before you do anything, you've already planned it, now you've created a new one, now you're going to save it. Is Control S on your keyboard. The Control key, letter S, will prompt a Save As dialog. The reason it's a Save As dialog is because it's the very first time you save this document. All right? You want to make sure and select on the left side in the Save As dialog, Desktop. And let's type in here for the name, your first initial, last name. Leave the .docx in there. That's the extension for Word 2010 and 2007. So you put in the file name, see your first initial, last name. You've left in there the dot operator, docx. You've selected desktop. Desktop should be in there. Let me look on your guys' computer real quick. Okay, if you click on the scroll down on the scroll bar all the way down. Well, you might have to scroll up all the way possibly. Let me look. Let me look on yours real quick.
Sure.
I got his own favorites. Or most of his have my favorites.
Do I know?
Go into favorites.
Into favorites, thank you. Okay, click on favorites on these computers. They've got it shortcutted to favorites for some reason. Then you'll see desktop. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it, really different than, what was this with the symbols, but.
Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure and click on favorites.
Yeah.
You already did that?
Well, or
Click
yeah,
on
yeah.
desktop.
Yeah.
Now go ahead and type in the file name. It's going to be first initial, last name. Okay, so your menu looks like is different than mine, but that's fine. Everybody has desktop right, and then you typed in the file name, first initial, last name. After you've done that, make sure the save as type is Word document, .docx, and then click Save. Now let's do this. On the very first line of your document, let's go ahead and type in, let's get rid of this paragraph symbol. I'm going to click on this paragraph symbol to get rid of it. You should just have the cursor blinking. Go ahead and type in your first and last name on the very first line. Now one of the things you'll note as you're typing right here in your Word document at the bottom left, it'll tell you page 1 of whatever. We're on page 1 of 1, typed in 2 words. And you'll note if you go back 1 space, kind of watch this area and hit the backspace and then type in the last letter of your name again. You should see this moving a little bit, this icon. It's checking and doing a spell check automatically as you're typing. So that keeps a word count of your document as you're typing as well. Now, one of the things to do as you're typing is to continually save often, and Control S, again, you can do that right now. When you do Control S this time though, it's not going to prompt you to save the Save As dialog because you've already named the file, and so it's just going to save it. Now, is it possible to be typing, say, a paragraph or two, and your computer crashes and you lose everything you've done? Yes. So that's why it's important to do Control S as much as you can. Now, you will learn these next few weeks that Word has a built-in autosave function. You can change the time of that to be greater or less. I think the default's like 10 minutes or something, but you can dumb it down to like a minute or two. What I always tell students to do is just come in the habit of, after every paragraph or two that you're typing, or if you're pausing for a long time, just hit Control S. Make sense? Because it's going to save it and you're not going to have to worry about it. So, let's go back to the PowerPoint here. Done that, did that, did that. Come on. I have to reload that, looks like. Give me a second. Okay, I went over rulers already. Non-printing characters, did that. Okay, font size and font size. And one of the cool things with 07 I really like is, now I'm going to go to the one I had you create with your name. One of the cool things it does is, with 2007, 2010, it gives you a nice selection of fonts, but not only that, but you get to preview them. So let's do this. Go ahead and take your mouse and highlight your name. Once you highlight your name, you should get a mini format bar like I do. It kind of starts hovering out, kind of starts showing up real slowly. We can go ahead and use that. And click on the drop down to the left of the number of font size, which is a font type. And you'll notice as you hover over these, it gives you a preview of what that font should look like. Now, the only problem I have with these is the way the little mini toolbar here is you'll notice it covers the font that you're actually wanting to change, the font name that you're wanting the selection. So generally what I will do, even though it's a cool idea, this mini toolbar, if I'm wanting to do, say if I'm just wanting to bold, italicize, underline, maybe change font color, this works fine. But if I'm wanting to change font type, I usually go up here to the upper area in the toolbar, and then you can actually resize your page to look to where it pops up a little bit out of the way. But you can't always get it to do right. So let me see here. I might have to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. There you go, like that. Okay. So you have to play around with it a little bit. And you would only do this generally on the first line or two of your document or headings of areas of your document, just to see if that's the right style you want. We'll say possibly this one right here is the one I end up liking. Okay, but you can go ahead and choose whichever one you want to. So font style is just that. It gives you a preview of the font style to choose from. Then you click on it to choose it. You also have an option for size. Now you'll notice as I hover over the size, it also increases that and gives me a automatic preview of that size. I'm going to bring mine back down to 100%. So I can see a preview of that font size. I'm going to leave it, say, 16. Also, one of the new features is increase and decrease of a font. In fact, it's called grow and shrink. Now, if I hit grow, it bumps it up 2. If I hit shrink, it pushes it down 2. All right? And that's kind of a cool feature, too, if you're wanting to do something quickly size-wise. The next one here, changing case. I can change the case. Right now it's in bookcase format, but I could change it to all lowercase. I could change it to all uppercase. Cap each word, like it was before with bookcase. Could toggle cases. I'm going to go back to capitalize each word, for that one anyway. Next here, you can clear the formatting altogether. If I clear the formatting, notice it goes back to the very default Word format for any document, which is Calibri Body 11. To bring back what I've just done, another shortcut key, Control-Z on your keyboard, will bring back. So let me put up on the board here a couple as we're going over these shortcut keys we've already went over. I'll just put them over here. So first one we went over here, Control-S, save. Then we did Control-Z just now, we'll undo. There's another one we'll learn here, Control-Y, we'll redo. Another one, Control-N, we'll look at in just a second. We'll look at that one. But as you're typing and you say make a mistake or you don't like what you just did, say if I type in a word here, I don't like it, I can do Control-Z, it'll actually get rid of that word, it'll undo what I've just typed in. Okay? If I keep clicking undo, it's going to go back to the very last time I saved my document. Okay? Not any further. If I do Control-Y, it's going to redo. Now you can do the same thing I'm just showing you with shortcuts up here on the mini toolbar. Here's undo, here's redo, and actually if you hover your mouse over it, it actually gives you the shortcuts I just showed you. The last one that's on the board there is a Control and keyboard command. Notice what this one did. It created a brand new document like that. Blank document, Control-N. So if you're wanting to create multiple blank documents or fire up Word and create a new document, a second new document, Control-N allows you to do that. I'm going to close out of this one. So font size refers to the number of size of the document, or the font style is the style that you choose. Another couple shortcuts while I'm up here. Control U, underline a word. Control B, bold. Control I, italicize. Control P, print. There's a few shortcuts to get you started. I use shortcuts all the time just because it's much easier when you're typing to use these shortcuts, especially when you're editing a document, than going to the menu. And once you start using shortcuts, you don't really ever go to menus again. So I always try to teach students as we're going along some shortcuts that I use all the time. And there's other ones I don't show you that you'll possibly learn that you'll start using. Zooming, went over that, bottom right corner of your document. You can, and I really love this feature, especially when you're editing, like I just showed you, trying to find a font style, or say you've got a document like a newsletter and you're almost done and you want to kind of zoom out and get a bird's eye view of what that document looks like. This is great for that. You really can't read the words at this view, but you can see the layout, and that's really nice. Now, if you want to get it back to 100% easily, you can just click anywhere, or any percentage actually, click anywhere in this bar, and it'll take you right to that area. This middle bar that has a vertical line here takes you right to the 100%, or close to it there. Now, one of the things that mentioned, I didn't go over here, you can set the zoom to page width, shows the entire width of the document on your screen. And zoom level here, you've got a whole bunch of different ones that are available to you. If you go down bottom left is print layout, then you've got full screen, web layout, outline, draft. Up on the view menu here, I can go to view and then page width. It'll fill up the entire document. Saving a document we've already went over. It will prompt you though, just remember, a couple things to remember is where you're saving it, okay, is the most important. If you forget where you saved a document, by default, Microsoft is always going to want to save it into My Documents, okay? Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I do a Control-N, if I do a Control-N in Word here, let's go back to this one, the first one we did, and do a Control-S to save it, it'll go back to initially that last save prompt that you were at. But if you have never if you've never clicked on desktop on your Word document at home, it's going to be this right here, My Documents by default. Okay? So, scrolling, let's talk about that. When you open up a document of any size, it doesn't have to have many words on it like this one doesn't. The right scroll bar can be done like I'm doing it right now, and you can practice that as well. You can also bump down or bump up by clicking on the arrow here that I'm clicking on with your mouse. Here would go to another page, next page. This one only has one page, so it's not going to go to the next page. This will go to previous page. This would go to multiple browsing by. I can do a find by here. Find by page number, find by heading, picture, graphic, whole bunch of different find bys there. Now, moving around your document, you actually do this in your in-class and a little bit your in-class exercise, but a couple ways you move around your document. You can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to move around, left, right, up, down. You can do control, left arrow, right arrow, This will do a left or right one word at a time. So if you go to your document that I've had you type in tonight, first and last name, and do a control left arrow, control right arrow, you'll notice how it's going word by word. If you let go of the control key and just hit the right arrow multiple times, it goes one space at a time, left arrow, one space at a time. So control right is one word, control left is one word. Arrow by itself is just one character. Up arrow, down arrow, one line. The home and end buttons around your keyboard area where your num keypad is goes to the beginning or end of your current line. The control home and control end goes to the beginning or end of your document. The control key home, control key end. To go to the previous screen or the next screen, page up, page down. To go to the top or bottom of the document window you're currently in, Alt Control page up and Alt Control page down. Probably the most popular that you'll use and is going to be the arrow keys for sure. You'll probably end up using maybe the control arrow keys as well. That's a nice one. And that's usually it, generally. Most students, or if you're like me, when you start using Word a lot, instead of doing the control home or end, I use this to find out where I want to go for the most part, the scroll bar. But it's nice to know the shortcuts if you need to use them. Undo, redo, we've already talked about, but this basically more defined definition. To undo means to reverse what it is you just did in the document. And that's the Control Z command, or the upper left little left curly on the upper left undo, which is basically this right here is the undo, or Control Z. If you want to restore to the original change, you redo it, which reverses the action of the undo. It redoes the undo. So redo, undo. Control Z is undo, Control Y is redo. The reason why you wonder why it couldn't come up, why we couldn't use the right letters for undo, redo. Well, undo, used for underlined. R is used for reserved, is actually used for redo. That makes sense, but U is actually used reserved underlined in the document. Correcting errors. If you notice typing error, which you'll do in your in-class here in a little bit. In fact, some of your last names, we'll do one on purpose here in a second, but some of your last names, if it's like mine, not a known name like a Smith or Jones, might underline your word in your Word document as you type it, like mine is. It'll put a squiggly line underneath that text. You'll notice when I hover my mouse over my last name here, in fact on that line itself, it'll give me some suggestions. Well, is your last name Kenko? No. How about Kino? No. How about Kinfolk? Okay? But what I can do is this, and I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, but I always do this on this first session of tutorial 1, is Word has the ability, if there's a word in there that it says it's misspelled and you know it's not, whether at home or at work, you can add it to the dictionary and it won't prompt you again. So I can just click Add to Dictionary. From here on out, it will not highlight my last name. Okay? Now go ahead and hit the space bar and let's type in the word and incorrectly. We're going to type ADN space. Notice what it did there. It auto-corrected. Okay? So anything that's auto-corrected is words that people misspell like I just did all the time. N's misspelled all the time. Another one would be the, if I typed in possibly the, it's going to autocorrect that. But let's say I typed in something maybe that's not so common, like thus, a King James word. Okay? It's not going to recognize that. It's not going to, well, it might recognize it. It might give me some prompts in a dictionary here in a second, but it's not going to do an autocorrect. So if I right click on this one, notice it does give me an option of thus. All right? So that's autocorrect and spell check. It's continually spelling, checking your document as you're typing. If you look on the overhead as I'm typing here, just pay attention here to this right here as I'm typing. It's actually not only counting the words, but it is actually proofing it as I'm typing, proofing my text as I'm typing. So it says here, before you practice autocorrect and spell check, you need to verify you have the correct settings in Word, which you already do, or it wouldn't have corrected it. But let's go ahead and look at that real quick. It's hard to see with this, but we want to go to the Word area in the spell check options. So let's show you where that's at. If you go to the drop down here, it's one way to do it. The best way, though, is from the File menu. So click on the File menu. Let's go to Options, Proofing, and the automatic spell check is going to be right here on the very first option. Autocorrect Options, change how Word corrects and formats text as you type. I click on this button, and you can click on it with me. Notice here, by default, it's going to correct two initial capitals, capitalize the first letter of sentence, capitalize first letter of table cells, capitalize days of names, correct accidental usage of caps. But also, it also autocorrects a number of, well, like I mentioned here. Here's the example of what I gave you earlier. I didn't actually compute this in. Word already has that in there. But what's cool about this is you can actually add in your own words as well. So if it's not already here, like this one's already here, THE is replaced with this, you can actually add your own in there. So say if your company has an acronym that's misspelled a lot, maybe it's AGS, and maybe people might spell it on mistake ASG. So if I put in here ASG and I want AGS to come up, I can add it. And now from now on, when anybody types in ASG, it's going to autocorrect it to AGS. Okay? And so there's tons of autocorrections already in there of common words, but you can add your own as well. Let's go ahead and click OK on that. While we're in here, let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. Some of the things on autocorrecting that Word does for you. Ignores words in uppercase, doesn't do anything with them as far as spell check. Ignore words that contain numbers. Ignore internet and file addresses. It flags repeated words. But the custom dictionary is what I want to talk about for a second. Go ahead and click on that custom dictionary. By default, your Word document is going to come with a dictionary called custom.dic, but you can create other custom dictionary as well and share it amongst a group of people within an office. And so what's cool about this one is I could create a brand new custom dictionary, put it on a network drive on my computer server at work, and share it with every client on my network. And that way you could have one person in the organization constantly updating spell check, autocorrect, dictionary words, proprietary parts or whatever it is your company offers, and one person updating it and everybody getting that information. Because if you notice on the overhead, if I click here to add, I can click new, meaning I'm going to add it to a new dictionary from my computer only. I don't want that, especially if it's on a file server somewhere in my network at work. If I click add, I can actually browse out somewhere on my network drive where that dictionary file is found, and it'll be updated. And if everybody in here is on that same dictionary file, if I'm the one updating that dictionary file, or even if you update the dictionary file, you can make those dictionary files to where only certain users have editable rights, or you can make all users have editable rights. Does that make sense? Generally, for the most part, if it's going to be a shared dictionary, you're going to limit it to a few folks to be able to edit those dictionary files. And that would can actually be done easily as well. So go and hit cancel there. Cancel that. So custom dictionary, before you hit cancel on this one, I'm going to click the edit word list. Right now, in my custom dictionary, I only have my last name in because that's all I've added. But as you begin using Word, this custom dictionary will begin to build and to grow and to fit the needs of your business or your personal way that you type and personal names of your family, doctors, associates, things of that nature. Make sense? We'll begin populate. Yep.
This one is the custom dictionary is the one that add words to.
Correcto. Yes. Yep. Correct.
The dictionary that it uses to autocorrect.
Nope. That's different. That's the different one. In fact, the one that did the autocorrect, let me cancel out of this one real quick. The autocorrect one's this one up here. I went to it first. Okay, the autocorrect is done here. Autocorrect as you type. It even has a math autocorrect. And so all of these words that are here, you'll notice, are automatically correcting. That's done here. So you can add to your heart's desire autocorrection here. Also, with the custom dictionary, that's your unique dictionary for your words that you've added into that manually. Make sense? Because one of the things with the custom dictionary you can do is you can actually add words in, type them in. I can type in a word, say that AGS one, I can type in AGS. It adds it. I can also click on a word, delete it. But it's actually just for my computer, on this computer, for this to work. Okay? The next is working when correcting spelling in Word. It'll check spelling as you type by default. It will mark grammar errors as you type, like maybe an incomplete sentence possibly, or it notices you might need a comma somewhere. It'll suggest things. Check grammar with spelling as well. On the grammar settings, I'll click on that. The grammar settings checks such things as, I won't read all these, but capitalization, misused words, punctuation, verb phrases. It does not check style. If you wanted to check style, you would have to manually go in and check that. Okay? If you wanted to reset everything the way it was before at a factory when you installed it, you can just hit reset all, and it's going to go back to the default of what it was originally. And then down here at the bottom, hide spelling errors in this document only, hide grammar errors in this document only. That can be done as well just for that document. Okay? Let's go ahead and cancel out of that. So when you're working in a document, a lot of times you want to insert a date with autocomplete. This feature automatically inserts dates and other regular use terms that you would use. Looks like I'm going to have to refresh this one again. Let's see if I can. I think my Eagle might have timed out. Let's see. Oh, looks like it's going to let me go. There we go. Back up. All right. So we say we want to put in a date using the autocomplete feature. If I go into my document right now, let you go into yours as well. I'm going to go to a view to where I can see it better. I'm going to back up, put my name there. I'll put my cursor in front of my name. And here I want to start typing in today's date, okay? So I'm going to type in January, Jan. I'll do it with me. Just type it slowly, Januar. Now notice it recognizes January. I hit enter, hit space, then it recognizes today's date. If you notice on the overhead, it should do the same with you. If I hit enter again, it populates it with today's date. It auto populates it with today's date as you're typing. And that goes with all dates, all months and all dates. And it completes the name of the month, completes the day and year as well. Now sometimes if you're a fast typer, you might not see these things pop up, okay? Because it'll go too fast, you'll go beyond it, and you won't see it. Yes? Not by default. You can't. By default, there is tricks to be able to do that, and I might put together a little podcast to help you on some of these things. So yeah, there are ways you can get around that and do that. Okay, let's talk about line spacing and underlining things in Word. Line spacing determines the amount of space in between the lines of a paragraph. Paragraph spacing determines the amount of space before and after a paragraph. And a paragraph space is measured in points. A point is approximately 1/72 of an inch. And to see paragraphs like we did before, you turn on the paragraph symbols, and on the Home tab, you can click on the paragraph symbols to see all the paragraphs on your document. And let's do this real quick before we go on. I'm going to highlight these two lines that I have, the date and my name, and then right click, and I'm going to go to paragraph and move it over to where you can see this. Right now, the line spacing is set the default 1.15. I can actually go in here and modify this to whatever I want it to be. So I'll do double. Okay, so I can modify that. The only downside to what I'm showing you is it does not give you a preview as you're doing it. Okay, so if I go to single, click OK. So again, just right click on the areas that you're wanting to tweak and go to paragraph. You can also change indentions of paragraph here, before and after. Don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. So I click this, click OK. It's going to trim that up, trim that space up. I'll highlight both again, go back to paragraph. I'm going to go now to 1.5 lines like it was before. And so that's line spacing, okay? Generally line spacing, and we'll do this actually next week, line spacing and formatting is done at the end of the process. Okay, when you're finished, you planned your document, you've typed the data. Lastly, you edit paragraph lines, indentions, things of that nature. Font style, type, color, underline, bold, italicize, all that stuff. Because if you do it, if you try to format as you're typing your document, it's going to bog down the creative process and typing to where, again, you'll be sitting there for a week and get nothing done. The first line might look really pretty, but you're getting nothing done, okay? And so typing in the data first, not worrying about formatting, might be a hurdle for some of you because you'll want to maybe, human nature is to maybe make it look nice. Some of you, worse than others maybe, I want to make it look good as I'm typing it. Force yourself not to do that, and then edit it at the end. So when you're going into documents and you're wanting to select parts of the document with the mouse, you can quickly select a line or paragraph by just clicking the selection bar of that document. And basically what it's talking about is you can go into like your name. I'm going to hide this paragraph again. If I double click on my first name, it selects it, okay? Now if I triple click, it selects that whole line, okay? Same with the first line, double click on January, triple click, the entire line. So double click selects a word, triple click selects the line. If I had a paragraph, a triple click would also select a paragraph as well that I was on. Previewing the document. When you're going into a document to preview it, pretty simple. Go to the File menu, Print, and then there's a preview section here that shows you in 2010 what it looks like automatically. So before you print, it shows you the preview, it shows you what printer you're attached to, and then you can select how many copies you want and hit print. So this is actually a real nice feature in 2010 to where it does give you the preview, where prior versions you had to click print, then print preview, and then it would pop up something, a print preview for you to see. I'm going to go back to the exit here now and cancel that. Almost done here. So lastly is creating an envelope. It's a very simple process in Word. Automatically uses the inside address from a letter as the address on the envelope. Click on the Mailings tab on the ribbon. In the Create group, click the Envelope button to open the envelope and labels. Verify the delivery address contains the correct address. If necessary, type a new address in it, which we're going to do. And so again, it's Mailings, the Mailings tab, in the Create group, Envelopes button. So let's go there. Mailings, and we're going over here to the envelopes. And here would be the delivery address where you're wanting it to go to, and your address down here where it to be where you're from. And so for our purpose, we'll go ahead and type in a bogus address here. We'll do a 123 North Main, Rockford, Illinois, 61107. And I might put at the top like ABC Company. And then down here, I'm going to type in my name and another fake address here, 123 North Main. Rockford, Illinois, 61107. And before, I don't want to print this. What I want to do is I want to add this to the document. Do you want to save the new return address as a default return address? Yes. Okay, and the return address will be my return address that I would use all the time on my computer. Okay, so you'll know what it does is it puts that letter at the very first of the document, your address, where it's sending, and then the letter itself. Okay? Let's do a Control S. As far as on your printers, most all printers have an option for, or a tray slot for envelopes. It generally takes a test or two to figure out which way to put the envelope, depending on your printer. So don't feel bad if you're trying this at home just to test it and you mess up a couple envelopes if you're playing around with it. I don't require you to turn anything in on this one, on envelopes, but some students do like to see if they can do it, just in case you ever have to do it and you want to send out an envelope, you know how to do it. And again, most all printers have an envelope slot to use. And what it would do is, when you were to print this document, you would have envelopes in your printer, in the printer slot, wherever it goes. You would have paper in the tray that you normally have to print out. When you go to print this, your printer would automatically recognize that that very first page is an envelope. It would print the envelope from the envelope slot. The second and subsequent pages, it would print with regular 8x10 paper. Okay? So you don't have to figure out, you know, it does it for you automatically. and remembers that. Okay, let's go ahead and go. I want to exit the discussion here, go back into week 2 for CIS120, and I want to jump right into the in-class exercise. It's 20 points. The in-class exercise says here, follow instructions on this document. When you click on it, it's going to open it up into Adobe Acrobat Reader. Follow the instructions on the document. Once you're completed with the document, you're going to submit it below. What you're going to do to submit, it's real simple. In the title, your full name. You'll attach the completed document and then submit. Okay? So go ahead and click on the word this, and it should pop up this document right here. It is 12 pages, but there's a lot of pictures, not much text. And so, you know, you're going to get through this fairly quickly. Before you begin this, because once you're finished doing this and you've submitted it, you're done technically tonight. So I want to go over the take-home real quick, what's due next Wednesday, all right? And then let you guys go at it and finish up. So let me quickly show you on the overhead what's due by next Wednesday. You've got the tutorial 1, and this is what it's going to look like on your end. Okay? Make sure when you take this that you have went through your reading for tutorial 1. Once you're through, you'll hit done. And let me actually preview this one as a student so it'll show up as you guys are going to see it. So you do have, it's worth 40 points. You have 3 attempts to take it. It's untimed and full review mode, meaning you get to review what you got correct and incorrect, and it'll tell you the correct answer that you missed. So when you take the first time, over here on the right side, it'll show you your last time you tried it. You'll click on that link, and it'll show you your last attempt. See which ones you got incorrect. Make sure you know the answer, because it'll show you what the answer is before you retake it the second time. You'll get the highest score out of the 3. So that's the first thing it's due by next Wednesday. Second is the Moab wedding. I already give you in this one the beginning document to start out with, and read and follow the directions in this document. Do not print when asked. You do not have to sign the document like it says. When prompted, save it onto your USB. Also, I would recommend saving it on your desktop as well. You'll type in practice in the title, attach it, and submit it. Here's a completed version of the Moab document, what it could look like. And if yours is a little different, that's okay. I'll just be looking at it, looks correct as far as the formatting goes for the most part. If it's off a little on spacing or whatever, no big deal. So this is the finished product here of what it could look like. Now again, if you're off a little bit on a space or something in between a line, like if you have one extra space here that I do, you're not going to be counted off, okay? So just try to make it look as close as possible as this one as you can. And I always tell students, if you want, you might look at this end product before beginning the practice document. Because the practice document is just that. It's going to tell you what to do, what to type in, what to search, or what to insert, from everything from blank lines. Anytime it tells you the word blank line, the tip I showed you earlier, the Shift-Enter key, will help you tremendously. Shift-Enter key, anytime somebody says enter a blank line, Shift-Enter. Just jot that down, remember that. Okay? All right. So, any questions about what's due by next Wednesday? If not, go ahead and begin your in-class exercise. When you're finished with the in-class exercise, we are done for the night. If you have any questions, you can come see me before you leave. And I'll walk around if you need any help.